And so what it brought me to is design thinking. So some of you have heard about design thinking, what design thinking is about. When I first started looking into this, I thought design thinking was about wearing cool socks, right? Right? I was like, okay, it's about wearing cool socks, being cool, wearing cool glasses, right? But the more I dug into it, I came to see it's actually a process and a set of practices. It's things that we know about as process professionals. And so my boss, actually, my research director, when I first pulled this set of slides together and shared it with him, he said, and I showed him, this is what design thinking is. I had a definition from Tim Brown of IDEO, right? He's, God of design thinking. My boss said, no, throw that away. Come up with a definition that you define. What design thinking means for business process pros and business architects, not what does design thinking mean for a designer, right? It's a little bit different, it's subtle. And it just so happened when I came up with this definition, I'm giving a lot of confessions, you better make sure I'm good on time as I'm going. When I came up with this definition, it actually coincided when I was also trying to learn to meditate for 8 minutes a day. How many of you meditate? Very few people. So we're going to practice meditating now. No, but I wanted to learn to meditate for 8 minutes a day. It was just something that I was like, a friend of mine had started doing this, and I was like, let me see if I can meditate 8 minutes a day. And I actually got up to being able to meditate 8 minutes a day. And when I started looking at this design thinking stuff, it reminded me of the process of making the shift. And so the definition I crafted here that we scoped out is really about making a shift from logical problem solving to creative experimentation. That's the real shift that I heard when I talked to these different design agencies, is this need to say, okay, we're used to solving problems in the back office that are really about logical problem solving. When we start moving into the front office, it really becomes about creative experimentation, being willing to experiment and knowing that every experiment isn't going to succeed. Okay? And so this is our definition of design thinking. Design thinking is a collection of practices that helps teams better identify with customer experiences and shift from logical problem solving to creative experimentation. So what does that really mean? How do we make this shift? What does it involve? What are the practices? So just to walk you through, the world we come from, I sound like I'm in the Matrix now. Jeez, this is not good, Samir. The world we come from is really about systems thinking. And some of you may have studied systems thinking or used systems thinking in your organizations, but I want to contrast systems thinking to design thinking, where systems thinking is more about the logical problem solving, design thinking is about the experimentation. So when we look at systems thinking, one of the key practices is to focus on holistic solutions. So defining and looking at things 360 to solve a problem, right? We move over to design thinking, we really get into specific interactions. So we're saying, with this one interaction, like me up here today, I want to make sure that we optimize that interaction for maximum impact and value. We're focused on the outcomes. When we look at systems thinking, it's about linkages, right? If you think about relational databases, kind of the world, that's a classic systems thinking sort of environment. It's really about linkages and linking databases, linking different applications. When we get into systems thinking, into design thinking, it's really about context. This is a widely used word, but the idea here is being able to bring information together when it's needed to provide the right information and guidance to get the person to the result they want quickly. So instead of trying to link the whole world, we really try to start gleaning intelligence, gleaning information about why this information might need to be related, right? Logic in the systems thinking world shifts to empathy. Deductive reasoning shifts to abductive reasoning. I highlight these in red because these are the two concepts and practices that were most difficult for me to understand. Most difficult for me to grok. I was just like, whoa, okay, empathy, what is that? I know what it means in the context of when I'm dealing with my daughter, my 10-year-old. Like, I need to have empathy that she wants to go have a party, go, to a party with her friends on a Friday night, which that doesn't make sense to me as a parent, but I need to empathize with her feelings, right? At least that's what my wife tells me. And abductive, I was like, what does this mean? Right? When I was doing these interviews, I was like, abductive logic. It sounds like an alien coming and taking something away, right? So I want to zero in on these two for a second because they're the most critical to making the shift and give you some real world examples. So moving a little bit from the theory behind this to real world, how does this apply to BPM?